Hello and welcome back to Rotherham Real Talks podcast. So I'm really excited today as we have got Kelly from Wag N Bone. So how are we, Kelly? And if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm good, Daryl. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Super. Yeah, I'm Kelly and I'm the owner of Wag N Bone Adventures. We're based in Rotherham. So we are a dog walking, home boarding and training service. So we cover a multitude of sins there. It's a bit of a one-stop shop really. And yeah, so really excited to be here.
Brilliant. No, thank you for coming on. So I know we've spoke prior to this, and I know a little bit of a background. By the way, Wag N Bone that's a brilliant name, but we'll get into that later. So what inspired yourself to start the business back in 2017, Kelly?
So, I mean, really, it came about by accident, if I'm being totally honest, which is really strange to say now. But my background is in construction and utilities. So I worked in sort of senior leadership roles for about 16 years or so. Um, and to be honest, I thought that would be where I'd end my career. I had a decent job, enjoyed the people, met some absolutely fantastic people that, even now are still an inspiration. So never ever thought that my life would be what it is now. If you'd have asked me this back then, I'd have been like, you're absolutely crackers. Um, but unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be, in 2017, I got made redundant
Right.
out of the blue, totally unexpected. And I guess it gave me a little bit of food for thought. At the time, my eldest children were, I think, about 7 and 5. So I'd done the 7:30 drop-offs at the childminder, the full day at work, 6 o'clock pick-up, bath, bed, and then get the laptop out for 5 hours. And I just sort of thought, you know what? As much as I've loved my work, I don't want to do that anymore. I've missed too much. So I decided that I was going to take 6 months out, just contemplate what was next, really, because I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do next.
Okay.
That's kind of all I've known. I didn't want to go back to it, and I was like, no idea what I'm going to do. So I was like, okay, let's just take 6 months to breathe and see what happens. And that was kind of how it started. But I think knowing myself well enough, I think back then, if I'd have got used to being a stay-at-home mum, spending every hour with the kids, looking after the house, binging on Netflix, I probably wouldn't have wanted to go back. So I sort of said to myself, look, this is the deal. You take 6 months out, but you've got to find something, even if it's just a little hobby, to keep you mentally and physically well, and to just stop yourself getting into that rut of, oh, I'm at home now, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
Um, we've always had dogs, we've always trained our own dogs. I've volunteered in rescues and stuff for years and years. So I have a mad passion for dogs. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to do a little bit as a hobby, something to do, get me out in the fresh air. And I'd literally started walking a couple of friends' dogs, the odd neighbour. And honestly, that's all it was ever meant to be. is
Turned into
is
what it
there's,
is now.
there's no grand master plan. That was literally all it was meant to be.
I think that's most people I speak to that have gone into the self-employed world and set their own business up. It's usually the same sort of story. They're in the day-to-day rut of, call it the corporate world, in whatever
Yeah,
industry career they're in. For whatever reason, something changes that they wasn't expecting,
yeah,
gives them that time to reflect,
yeah,
work out where they want to go with their future, and then things happen naturally. It's exactly the same with my career path. Uh, Having kids at home, family, you want it to be around. You miss so much as they're growing up, and then you go, actually, take a step back, and
yeah.
I need to do something for myself.
And I
Um,
think sometimes
Completely
you
agree
have
with
to be
that.
forced into that position sometimes because,
Definitely.
we're all creatures of habit, aren't we? So we just generally keep doing what we've always done. And
Yeah,
until your hand gets forced, it's like, it's a bit of a wake up call, I think.
it is definitely. So tell us about the name Wag N Bone Adventures. So how did that come about?
So
Obviously, you got the Wag N Bone, but
I can't really take credit for that, to be honest. That was my late mum. Um, so when I decided to, and when I thought, oh, this could be something actually, I might give this a go, for real.
yeah,
I was, having numerous chats with them. Like, I need a really good name, and all the names I'd looked at, I don't like it. No, when I Googled that, 15 other businesses come up, and so we'd bounced so many ideas about. We'd done the whole using your name, so we'd had Tinkler Trails and Tinkler Tails, and you name it, Kelly's Canines. We'd gone through, and I was like, no, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. And then one day she just went, oh, how about Wag and Bone? And I went, Wag and Bone? And she was like, and then I thought, actually, and it just stuck. So that's down to my mum. Um, but it does complicate things sometimes because sometimes when you give that out to a customer, they're like, can you spell that? What? So I've just started saying now, Wagam, like rag and bone, but with a W.
yeah,
Oh, right, yeah. So rather than spelling it now, I just use the rag and bone man analogy and just say, because if they're young enough, they know Rag and Bone Man the singer, and if they're old enough, they'll know the actual Rag and Bone Man.
yeah.
So I tend to just use that now. Otherwise, you get all sorts of weird and wonderful,
Spellings of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so it was my late mum that had to take credit for that one, really.
Brilliant. So we've touched on this one a little bit then, as obviously as you started out, it started out of a more of a hobby, helping out friends and just trying to keep your own mind occupied, I suppose, and not
Uh-huh.
not going crazy at home and watching daytime TV all day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, which is nothing wrong with that, but obviously you do need something to occupy yourself.
Yeah.
So what did that daily routine start? Was it just like, oh, just one day a week, was it? You were taking your friends' dogs round and just helping out where you could, just to.
Yeah, I think by this point I'd had a few other inquiries, just literally seeing people out and about. A few friends had recommended, and
Mhm.
then I did a little bit. So I wasn't doing any social media advertising or anything at the time, but I was getting quite a few inquiries through bark.com.
Okay.
So I was literally just I was taking inquiries where I could. So yeah, I mean, within the first sort of 3 or 4 months, I was probably doing 5 days, but they weren't full days. It was a bit here, a bit there.
Okay.
Um, and in all honesty, at the beginning, I'm not going to lie, it was a nightmare because when you're starting out, particularly with something like this, and there's a lot of competition. There was a lot of competition back then, and there is now.
Yeah.
You have to go further afield than you'd like. We'd all like to just walk dogs within a mile radius, but you can't do that when you're starting out. So, there were some days when I were over in sort of top end of Barnsley for a morning walk, and
Right.
then I'd be back over near where I live in Rotherham, and then I'd be over in Doncaster in the afternoon. Um, but ultimately, that's how we built the business, and as much as we've been able to scale back a little bit and cut our geographical area a little bit now.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just you take the jobs where you can.
Yeah. Completely get that.
So a
Uh,
lot of my time was honestly was dead time traveling, which is not ideal when you're building a business, but it's par for the course, I guess.
it is, yeah. So how did you overcome those challenges then, as you've obviously driving to Barnsley, to Doncaster, back to Rotherham, back to Barnsley? What 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 was the plan to try and scale that to where you are now? And obviously you've moved forward and moved and created a team and built on there as well.
Yeah.
So
I think right from the off when I started doing this properly as a business and thought actually this could be something, my plan was always to bring a few other people along with me. That was always the plan.
yeah,
It was just about the timing. So once I'd started then getting a couple over in Barnsley and a couple over in Doncaster and a couple over in Rotherham, I was lucky enough that at the time one of my good friends was taking a bit of a career break. She was a mental health nurse and she was taking a little bit of a break, a bit of a sabbatical, and she came on to help me part time. So, she would cover one area, I would cover the others. So that's kind of how it started. And then again, as that then multiplied bit by bit, we took on somebody else part time. And we just grew it steadily. I'm not going to say that it's been an easy road. I've had some amazing people work for me. Some that still do, some that have moved on. But that's not always been the case. It's definitely been a bit of trial and error, like most businesses are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always the plan to build a team. And I think because I've always worked in large teams in a previous life, I found it quite challenging, different just for me always.
Yeah.
So it was always a plan that it would be more than just me.
Yeah. So by the sounds of it, it's gone from you running around all over the place to identifying actually we can have two or three core areas
Yeah,
and they've naturally crossed over and you've become like, right, we can cover quite a large area now because
yeah.
we've built out a team. And
Yeah, and
that,
we did have to scale back. So I mean, sometimes in when you're self-employed or you've got your own business, it is a bit of trial and error, and I suppose it's about not being afraid to change things because
yeah,
we even with a team. So just pre-COVID. We still covered Barnsley and Doncaster and Rotherham, but the Rotherham area was huge. So it was pretty much every part of Rotherham, but then we were right up over in like Goldthorpe, Bolton on Dearne. Um, and then after COVID, once sort of lockdown had finished, at the same time, I just had another little girl. I lost my mum. And it was like, wow, this is unmanageable. This is just crazy. This is hectic.
yeah.
Um,
Sorry, technical error. So yes, we have to yeah, you try to scale it back right back from obviously covering Doncaster, Rotherham, and Barnsley.
Yeah. So and that didn't come without challenges because ultimately, you have to let customers go. I had to scale back some of the staff at the time to
Yeah,
match the scale back. So, it was challenging. But what it allowed us to do was to sort of regroup and kind of then move towards an ideal scenario rather than a scenario that had just sort of grown on its own.
yeah,
Yeah, so that was kind of the next steps really.
perfect. So obviously you've touched on this. So you've built out a team of seven currently, and so is that just have you just narrowed that back down to just Rotherham now? So
Yeah, pretty much. So all of our walk-in services are Rotherham.
Rotherham, okay,
Big portion of Rotherham, but Rotherham. Um, I've got a home border that's in Rotherham as well, and I've also got a home border that's in Barnsley.
okay,
I tend to travel a little bit further afield for training. But yeah,
yeah.
pretty much we've managed to kind of scale it back.
Narrow
Yeah,
it down now.
yeah, it's much more manageable.
Good stuff. So yeah, obviously it's more than just dog walking then. So do you want to touch on the training and home boarding and what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So let's say we've got two home boarding setups. So Lindsay and Chris, who both walk for me as well, they home board. So it's all sort of home from home. It's in a house. The dogs are part of the family. They literally go everywhere that we go.
Yeah,
And then Jane mirrors that. It's exactly the same process, but she's based over in Rotherham. Sorry,
right.
in Barnsley. So it's yeah, it's really good, and it's just about putting owners and the dogs at ease because it's like taking your kids to nursery for the first day.
Yeah,
It's emotional. So we do try and mirror their home environment as much as we possibly can. Training is a little bit more complex. So we get, your standard, you know, dogs pulling on lead, barking a lot, not great recall. So we work with a lot of those everyday issues. But then we do see some quite sad cases. So reactivity cases where perhaps dogs have come from poor backgrounds or
right.
particularly sort of foreign rescues that obviously come with a whole host of other issues. So yeah, it can be quite complex and quite challenging sometimes because sometimes what an owner will say to you over the phone on a discovery call, when you actually go out and meet the dog, it can sometimes be totally different.
Yeah,
So
fair
you've
understanding
got to
there.
be open-minded and not try and do too much prep without actually physically going out and assessing the dog yourself.
Hmm. And I suppose, yeah, foreign rescue might be quite difficult if they don't speak or they don't recognize the English language, and you have to.
Yeah, I think the thing with foreign rescues is they tend to have a lot of there tends to be a lot of issues that are across the board. So a lot of them do sadly tend to have a fear of men. Um,
Right?
I think a lot of that is down to the way that some of the kill shelters and things are staffed out there, and the road catchers tend to be, not always, but tend to be male.
Right, okay.
They a lot of them will have a fear of sort of large vehicles because a lot of them have lived on the streets,
Right.
loud noises. So they come with a whole host of different issues than perhaps we see a lot of in this country. And I think with training, it's really tough because owners do tend to have the mindset, a lot of them, that there's a magic bullet and that a trainer will come out and spend an hour and everything will be wonderful. And, you know,
Yeah.
trying to explain to them that for that hour, I can't undo sometimes maybe 5 or 6 years of unwanted behaviour.
Yeah, there's no
Um,
reset button.
yeah, that actually, I can give them the tools and the support, but they've got to put the work in. So that
Yeah.
can be a bit of a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, you end up training the owners as well as the dog.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
Yeah, and understanding. Yeah, so spot. Yeah, those. It's every dog's different, and I've got two dogs, so both of my dogs are completely different characters and
yeah.
personalities, and yeah, different backgrounds and different traits. I know my grandparents used to have small poodles, and they was a completely different thing. They was very snappy little yappy things, but lovely on my granddad's knee. Didn't like anybody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and then obviously other dogs are just all over, just want to play all the time. And then yeah, it's just trying to set them boundaries because every single dog, just like every person, we're all different and all got different personalities and traits.
yeah,
But it's trying
yeah.
to match that training to that individual dog.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just about, I suppose, educating us because a lot of the queries I get are like, oh, I just want my dog to like all other dogs and I'm like, but is that realistic? Because do you like every other person you meet?
Yeah,
Well, no. Well, why do we expect our dog to like every other dog that they meet? Of
yeah,
course, you don't want them going crackers at every dog they see,
yeah.
but is it realistic to expect them to like every other dog that they meet? Well, so
No,
sometimes it's just about reframing an owner's expectations as well as trying to help the dog.
yeah, of course. Yeah, but like I say, it's training the owner as well as
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people go, oh, it's a lovely idea to have a puppy and get a dog, and they don't actually know what comes with it. Yeah, puppies biting stuff and chewing all the furniture and
Yeah. Being there.
being yeah making a mess of the house, unfortunately, and then everything else that comes with it and the responsibility of actually having a dog.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you have some brilliant conversations on them discovery calls. So a little bit of bit behind the scenes then. What does a normal, I know there's no such thing as a normal week when you run your own business, but what does a typical week look like for you?
Yeah. So generally for the team, I mean, we our day generally starts about 9ish, and they normally finish for about 3. Obviously, there's an awful lot of picking dogs up, dropping dogs off.
Yeah.
We average about 5 or 6 walks a day, group walks,
Okay.
and that can be literally anywhere. So it can be in woods, fields, secure areas, lakes. And it's not always the dogs that end up having a dip either. We've been known to follow them in sometimes. Um, not for the wanting of it. It's just
You got dragged in.
absolutely. So yeah, so we have all of that, and then once the last walk's finished, obviously, the boarders then go home and take their boarders home with them. So then they've got them at home, and then it's tea time, play time, all of that good stuff.
Yep.
Um, Generally, if I'm not out walking or covering one of the team, I'll either be out training, which I tend to try and do sort of a couple of days a week, um, or I'm at home with the kids, trying to balance, all the back office
Running
stuff,
a yeah.
which yeah, one task seems to lead to another 15.
It does.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's brilliant because I mean, for me, obviously, I spent all that time with the older two children in a corporate environment, and I've now got two more youngsters. Um, so they're 3 and 2. So it's a totally different world for me now. I get to spend so much more time with them. Even if I'm reading a book or memorizing a book to one of them while doing payroll or something, I'm still
Yeah.
present, so it gives me that opportunity. Yeah, and then you have all the other stuff that comes with it, the marketing, the social media stuff, all the HR, managing a team,
Yeah.
invoicing. Yeah, it never ends, but
No, it doesn't.
you can't complain. And when you're out walking, and the view from the office, so to speak, is just miles and miles of greenery. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah, I
You
suppose.
can't.
Yeah, with young kids, then. So this time of years, I know it's quite difficult for a lot of people. I obviously it's first day. My kids are off school for the summer. I know there's a couple of other schools across Rotherham that break up. I think Tuesday or Wednesday this week. Mine finished on Friday, which is always a hard balance trying to run your business and sort out childcare.
Yeah.
I run my own business, my wife runs her own business as well. And without the family network of who can have that one today, who can help today, I'll help you on that day, and trying to make sure the business is run and you've got the childcare sorted out. And I suppose as I see you're 2 and 3, you're
Yeah, yeah. Two, 3, and then the other two are up there at sort of senior school.
so the ones at senior school that I'm sure that if they're wanting to some pocket money, they'll come out and help and do dog walks. I suppose if and when you can drag
Sometimes,
if and when you can drag them along. Um,
sometimes.
but as the younger ones get older, I'm sure that going out with mum, walking a few dogs when the weather's nice, is a little bit easier, and that there's that balance where you can take the younger ones with you.
Yeah,
Just
I
depending on
suppose
obviously you
in
don't want the kids
certain
out
in
all day.
certain circumstances, yeah. Obviously we've got to be mindful of all the legalities and the
Yeah,
insurance,
yeah, of
and
course.
um, I'm quite lucky, I suppose, in the sense that I mean we're always busy, but we're slightly less busy in the holidays because we do have quite a lot of term time customers.
Okay.
So it does drop off a little bit, which then tends to ease me having to physically be out walking. So a lot of them, what I do is then building up and prepping for September.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, I mean there are occasions, and the little two do go to nursery twice a week. So I've always got those 2 days if I need to nip out and
Yeah.
help out. But yeah, it can be a bit of a juggling act.
Yeah, so I suppose it's nice to have that flexibility when you're running your own business, and now you're in the position where you've built out a team. If you've like, I'm struggling for childcare on a Wednesday, and they're not at nursery or whatever, you can move people around and
Yeah,
change stuff to suit what you need it to be.
yeah.
Which is always that's a brilliant position to be in. Um, so how do you ensure that the dogs then and obviously their owners all feel supported? What is there like an onboarding process when you take on a new dog? How
Yeah,
from
yeah,
like
I
start
guess
to
so. So,
finish?
I mean, we always have a telephone conversation first, then we always go out and meet owner and dog.
Yeah.
Um, we've got quite, I think, probably because of my previous jobs, we've got quite a robust set of sort of policies and procedures and paperwork and risk assessments and all of that stuff that I think sometimes owners are quite surprised to see, which I think always lends a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And for us, we're just very open and honest. We've got an open door policy in the sense that if a customer needs to ring me at 10 o'clock at night because she's got a concern, the phone will be picked up and we'll sit and we'll talk it through. So I think it's just about being open with people and just having decent communication. Letting them know if you've got a concern about the dog, letting them know if there's been a bit of a, you know, if they've maybe sort of hurt the nail, or not trying to cover anything up. Just be honest with people, and
Yeah.
nine times out
Dog's
of
had a
10
bit of
they're
a tumble
absolutely
today,
fine.
or yeah. He's
Yeah.
he bumped
um,
into another dog, or they've had a bit of a disagreement with another dog, or it looks like they've got an upset stomach. Have they eaten anything funny?
That's it,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think as well, so off lead, we have a lot of dogs off lead, but we have consent forms. So if owners are a little bit dubious, we'll make arrangements to kind of make those changes gradually with the owner's involvement, so that they don't think, oh God, they're just going to go and let my dog off and lose it in the middle of a field somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about having those communication channels open, I think.
Yeah, and then slowly that trust will build on. Obviously, as you've got clients, I'm sure you've got clients that have been with you for a long time on the, like say, in term times when they need, and then obviously they can step in when they're off school or in and around other things. They can cover the dog walks themselves. But as that relationship builds, I suppose that you understand how they work and how their dog reacts and what they needs, and they understand how you deal with that. So I think over time the trust just grows, and
Yeah.
you both understand where you're both coming from and what's expected on both sides.
Yeah, I know we've got quite a few customers that have literally been with us from day one.
Yep.
But then obviously, you're bringing new people on all the time. So yeah, it's just about making sure that you communicate properly, and you're open and honest, really.
So you touched on this one a little bit earlier on. Is there any funny or unusual story that you like to, apart from taking a dip in the lake that you didn't want to?
There's loads, like literally. I mean, we have so many videos of dogs that pick up another dog's lead and then take that dog for a walk, and like honestly, it's sometimes you're just in tucks. But yeah, I think probably the worst one for me. I mean, everybody else found it funny. I wasn't as thrilled. We had a young husky who she was actually my friend's dog, and she'd been with us a while. Really, really good off lead, no issues. And she'd gone down a little banking, not a particularly steep banking, but gone down a little banking into like it was a stream, but there were a couple of deeper bits.
Okay.
And then because the banking was muddy, she couldn't get back up no matter how much she tried. So I ended up having to. So then she got scared and kind of went for a bit of a swim, and I had to literally wade in, tie
Right.
the dogs to a tree and wade in and bring her back out with me,
Yeah.
which certainly wasn't ideal, but you kind of get home and you just have to laugh it off, really.
Yeah.
What else can you do?
Well, I say the dog needs your help. You're gonna have to jump in and go get it. So
That's it. There's no other option, is there? So, but yeah, literally, Daryl, like every day there's something.
there's something
It's
that cracks you
yeah.
up.
At the end of the day, as beautiful as they are, they're animals, and they always say don't work with
Yeah,
kids
they're
and
always
animals,
doing
don't they?
something
So
silly. Well, yeah, yeah. My dog surprises me every day, even though that's like one's 8 year old and one's 4 now. I think he is. And
yeah.
some days I've seen it, and I wake up on a morning, and he's like somehow he's tucked the quilt over him, and it's just his head poking out. It's like, how have you done that? Yeah, they're definitely funny characters. Some dogs.
Yeah, they sure are.
There's always a story. So, how how has running your own business and getting involved with the local community impacted your day-to-day life? How much do you try and support the obviously local community, local business, but how does that work normally? How do you get out and say that this is who I am, this is what we do, and this is the services we provide? And what sort of responses have you got from that? As is it generally good feedback you get from the community, or is it, oh, people are not sure of why do people need a dog walker sort of thing? Because I'm sure there's different people that think so. Well, if you've got a dog, why are you getting someone else to walk them?
Yeah, yeah,
And there'll be that scenario. I know I've had that in the past with our dogs. It's like, well, if you've got a dog, why are you not looking after it yourself? But obviously things take over and work and situations change. And having a dog is not just it's not a 12-month. Oh well, the typical it's a dog's not just for Christmas, is it?
well, that's it.
It could be 10 to 12 years, sometimes longer, depending on the breed.
Yeah.
It's and obviously life changes quite quickly sometimes. So how do you deal with that in the community?
I mean, I'll be honest. Our feedback is I can't think of an occasion, or I think maybe once where we were looking for a home board to join us team, and we had a lady somewhere miles away that, I don't know, a bit of a keyboard warrior that had put something, but 9 times out of 10, people are brilliant. And, our customers are amazing. If they notice, somebody looking for a dog walk on a local forum, before I've even had a chance to see it, they're on there, or they'll send me a screenshot and say, have you seen this?
Yeah.
So they're really good, and they're really, really good at, word of mouth and recommendations. So, I mean, our community-based boarding, training, all of it are fantastic. And I think for me, I know one of your questions, I don't know if it was further down, was about, what do you enjoy about being a business in Rotherham?
Yeah.
And for me, it's 100% the people. 100% the people. Just good old salt of the earth people that want you to do well, they want you to succeed. And, if they've got something in their wheelhouse that can help, then they will.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, we always try and give a little bit back. I've spent a lot of I don't have much free time, but what free time I have got, supporting local rescues. So I've sat on the board of some local rescues, I've volunteered at local rescues. We've recently just rolled out a bit of a concessions scheme for short term. So if you've got somebody that's perhaps maybe had a hospital stay, they've had an operation, so they
Yeah.
might normally walk their own dog, but for a period of time they can't.
Yeah.
We will do short term at kind of, a third of the price. So we're just trying to give a little bit back because, we do get a lot of support. In terms of advertising, again, a lot of it's word of mouth and, people using good old Google, but we do update socials daily. I do put posts out into local forums, sort of 2, 3 times a week. Yeah, it's just about, I suppose, keeping the visibility going.
That awareness. But like I said, there's no better way to grow any business than word of mouth and recommendations because, well, it's a testimonial and short social proof of what you guys are doing. And it's
Yeah.
definitely, I've seen that on many, many businesses and business owners that I've spoken to. Most of the time, that's how they build a business is through recommendations and just sharing what they do on a day-to-day basis. And like I say, you're doing that on socials. And I definitely want to see a picture of some funny dog stories and dogs walking each other and messing about.
I'll find one that doesn't include me.
Um, so we've touched on that one then. So it's what makes it Rotherham's a business owner special. It definitely is the people, and I can vouch for that as well. I've worked with some great people in and across Rotherham. So as what's looking towards the future then? What's the plans for the future growth of Wag N Bone Adventures? Is it more of you want to carry on growing and expand, or are you happy to where you are and you just let it potter over, or is it what's your say 5 years down the line? What is it?
I think our sort of short to medium term is to keep doing what we're doing. I want to try and probably double the walking capacity between now and the end of next year. I'd like to bring on 2 more home boarders. Again, same sort of time frame.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the kind of the ultimate aim, longer term, would be to continue doing what we're doing, but to also open a commercial doggy daycare.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
we'd still continue what we do because that setting is not right for everybody. So we wouldn't just do that and then stop doing what we're doing. We'd try and do a bit of both. I think that's the ultimate goal. And I think on top of that is to look at doing something in the rescue space. So, maybe starting up a foster charity or an adoption charity alongside. I think that's kind of the ultimate goal. But I think owning this business, as if it's taught me one thing, it's that, not everything that you try in business or every new idea is going to work. Some things do, some things don't, and it is a bit of trial and error. And sometimes you've got to tweak things to get it right. And I suppose for me, I like the analogy about sort of the farmers that if you plant a load of seeds, not every crop is going to grow, but you don't
Yeah.
stop planting. You can still plant the following year.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. But anything could happen.
Yeah. So
you
yeah,
know.
that's one thing that I've I've learned was working in the industry I'm in is it definitely opens more doors and other opportunities to be able to do other things that you would never probably had even thought of.
Yeah.
Like say if you went back probably 8 or 9 years ago and then you said, well, one day you might have your own dog rescue charity, you'd be like, you wouldn't even that wouldn't even be on
Yeah.
the radar.
Absolutely.
Um, but even maybe before it's like one day you'll have your own business, you'd be like, no, I won't. And I'm exactly the same. I suppose if you speak to anybody who's gone self-employed and started their own business, it definitely opens other doors and other opportunities to that you would never have even considered before.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely. You never know what's round the corner and what paths and what doors will open as you're going down the journey. So definitely look forward to seeing how Wag and Bone
Fingers
develops
crossed.
and seeing how that grows. Um, you've also covered this next one then. So that's the dream and the vision to be able to have some sort of rescue charity in the future. Would it be Wag and Bone Rescues or
Oh God,
not
I've
that
got no
far?
idea. No, I think we'd probably have to try and keep it so connected, but with a bit of separation. God, that'll be another horrific,
Trying
trying
to
to
work
think of a
out.
name.
So let's wrap it up a little bit now then. And if anybody, what's your main areas across Rotherham that I ideally cover? I know you said you cover most of Rotherham, but
Yeah.
what's the main core areas? And if
Okay.
anyone's looking for any ideas or support or thinking about getting a dog soon, what sort of responsibility and training that they might need, or like you say, if someone is having an operation soon and they're thinking and they're genuinely worried, it's like, oh, what am I going to do with the dog? Well, I'm out of action for 12 weeks or so.
Yeah.
What's the best way to get in touch with you and
Okay.
offer that advice?
So we cover sort of it's kind of like your Bramley, Wickersley, Ravenfield, Maltby, sort of Whiston, Moorgate, Treaton, Swallownest, Thurcroft, kind of, yeah. If you kind of imagine Wickersley and sort of go about 6 or 7 miles out each way, that's kind of our radius. So it's,
That's
it's a
your
pretty
main, yeah?
it's a pretty big
Big area,
radius.
yeah?
But yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any concerns that they want to chat through, I always say jump on the website and give me a ring. Because if you send an inquiry, so I'll read it and I'll probably ring you anyway, because I'd much rather speak to somebody over the phone than play email ping pong.
Yeah,
Um, our website is www.wagonboneadventuresuk.co.uk. And there's loads of information on there. Obviously, we're on Facebook as well. We're on Instagram. You can drop us an email through the website. And my number's plastered all over there. So, if anybody's got any sort of in-depth questions, I will just pick the phone up and have a chat, really.
perfect. So I'll stick all that into the show notes, and I'm sure everyone
Super.
will be going to go have a look at dogs walking dogs. Seeing if any of the walkers get dragged into ponds and lakes and getting all muddied up. And thank you very much for your time today, Kelly, and telling your story. Hopefully, you get further down the line and this rescue thing pulls off, and you continue to grow as you've done over the last few years, and yeah, you've just keep doubling and doubling and growing. Um, Thank you very much for your time,
Can
and
I just add one more thing, Daryl, before I
of course you
go?
can.
So this is probably a bit unheard of in our sort of world because it doesn't happen very often. But I'm a big believer in kind of supporting one another. And if I find another business that does the same kind of stuff as we do, that I know from personal experience are brilliant at it, and they share the same sort of principles, I send recommendations to them if we can't accommodate, and likewise. So I'd like to just give a shout out to two other businesses if I could.
Brilliant.
So one is Haley's Howler's Walking and Boarding Service, and they're based in Brinsworth.
Okay.
And the other one is Bjorn's Buddies, who is a walking service based out of Maltby, but obviously does cover surrounding areas. So if ever anybody's looking for anybody, if you come to us and we can't fulfil what it is that you need, or you're not sure where the right fit, then go and give them a look as well.
Brilliant. And I think that just shows how what sort of community you have built if you're collaborating with other people in the same industry in the same space because you built them recommendations up and Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, thank you for sharing those as well. And it's more doggy pictures to go for people to go look at and
Yeah.
explore. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, Kelly.
Yeah,
I'll
thanks,
put all that
Daryl.
into the show notes, and I'm sure people will be in touch and find out a bit more about everything behind the scenes. So yeah, thank you,
Super.
and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Daryl. Cheers.